Welcome, the anointed ones. The most dangerous person in the room isn't the one who shouts, it's the one who stopped talking. That's not just poetry, it's psychology. Studies show that when a person suddenly goes quiet after being consistently present, it triggers high-alert curiosity in everyone around them. The human brain is wired to detect changes in behavior, and nothing unsettles people more than a shift they can't explain, especially when that shift comes from you. And lately, you've been too quiet. Not the I'm busy quiet, not the I'm tired quiet. The kind of quiet that feels like the air before a storm, calm on the outside, but somewhere lightning is building. The truth? That silence isn't weakness, it's a weapon. You've stopped broadcasting your moves, and now people who once felt bold enough to test you are realizing they don't know where you stand, or what you're planning next. And that mystery? Oh, it's eating them alive. It's funny. Some of them thought your quiet meant you were retreating. But deep down, they're starting to suspect it means something else entirely. You're done warning people before you move. Number 1. Your absence removed their illusion of control. When you pulled back, you didn't just remove yourself from the conversation. You took away their entire stage. For a long time, they operated under the illusion that they had a certain hold over you. They believed that as long as you were within reach, they could predict you, influence you, or even control your choices. Your presence gave them a sense of importance, a false feeling that they had some kind of power over your world. But the moment you went quiet, you took away the very thing they relied on: access. Access is control, and control is only possible when someone can reach into your space and move things around. They knew how to push your buttons, how to bait you into reacting, how to read your moods just by watching you. But now, with nothing to read, nothing to poke, nothing to trigger, they're left guessing. And that guessing is driving them crazy. Your absence is doing something they didn't prepare for. It's forcing them to sit with themselves. They can't distract from their own flaws by focusing on you anymore. They can't point fingers, twist narratives, or keep you under their microscope. Without your presence to manipulate, they're left staring at a blank wall where their control used to be. And here's the part that really unsettles them. That wall is starting to reflect them back at themselves. People like that depend on your reactions to feel powerful. When you take that away, you strip them of their favorite weapon. They can't feed their ego by winning against you if you're not even in the arena. Your quiet became a mirror they didn't want to look into because it shows them the truth. They only felt strong when you played along. Now, they're realizing something they never wanted to face. The control they thought they had was never real. It only existed because you allowed it. And once you withdrew, the whole thing collapsed like a house of cards. That's why they feel unsettled around your silence. It's not just the absence of sound. It's the absence of their illusion of power. And once that illusion is gone, they know they're left with nothing to hold over you ever again. Number 2. You stopped feeding their ego's lifeline. They thrived on the attention you once gave them, whether it was praise, concern, or even frustration. Every reaction you offered was like fuel for their ego. When you showed care, they felt validated. When you got angry, they still felt important because they knew they had the power to affect you. It didn't matter if the energy you gave was positive or negative. What mattered to them was that it was yours. And that made them feel significant. The day you went quiet was the day they lost that lifeline. You stopped explaining yourself. You stopped defending yourself. You stopped making sure they knew how you felt. It wasn't an accident. It was a choice. And that choice cut them off from the steady stream of energy they had come to expect from you without question. What's happening now is simple but devastating for them. Without your energy to lean on, they have to confront the emptiness they've been avoiding. They've been using your responses as proof that they mattered, that they still had a place in your life. Now that you've taken that away, they're struggling to find that sense of importance anywhere else. And the worst part? They don't even know how to create it for themselves. The silence you've given them isn't just an absence, it's exposure. It exposes how dependent they were on you for validation. It exposes how little they've built for themselves emotionally. It exposes that the power they thought they had was nothing more than your willingness to engage. They may try to provoke you again, not because they truly want a fight, but because they're desperate for the hit of significance your attention gives them. They might test boundaries, send subtle jabs, or stir up old issues just to get a spark from you. But when you don't bite, they're left holding their own emptiness. This is where the shift happens. They're learning, whether they want to or not, that your energy is not a public resource they can tap into whenever they feel small. By cutting off the supply, you force them to see that you are not theirs to drain, and that realization is a power they can't take back from you. Number 3, your stillness is making their guilt louder. When you stopped responding, you removed the noise that allowed them to ignore their own actions. As long as you were talking, defending yourself, explaining or reacting, they could focus on you instead of facing what they had done. Your words, whether calm or heated, gave them something to latch onto, something to twist, dismiss, or use as an excuse to avoid looking at themselves. But now, there's nothing for them to deflect. All that's left is the truth, and it's pressing in on them harder every day. Your quiet isn't just the absence of conversation, it's the absence of distraction. Without your voice in the mix, their mind is louder than it's ever been. The things they said, the choices they made, the way they treated you, those memories aren't fading like they hoped. Instead, they're playing back in their head with no competing noise to drown them out. And no matter how much they try to bury those thoughts, they keep resurfacing. The guilt they carry isn't always conscious. Sometimes it shows up as irritation with you for not engaging. Sometimes it shows up as them trying to paint you as the problem to others, because it's easier than admitting they created the situation. But underneath all of that, there's a growing awareness that your absence is connected to their actions. And that awareness is uncomfortable in a way they can't easily shake. This kind of quiet is dangerous for them, because it's making them face themselves in a way they never planned to. They can't tell themselves the story that you're overreacting or being dramatic when you're not even speaking. They can't accuse you of starting a fight when you've given them nothing to fight about. That leaves only one explanation, and it's one they don't like to admit. They were wrong. The longer the silence stretches, the heavier that realization becomes. And what unsettles them most is that you're not trying to make them feel guilty. You're not chasing closure, demanding apologies, or proving your point. The weight they feel isn't coming from you. It's coming from within them. That's the kind of guilt that sticks, and it's the kind that will never fully let them rest when they think about you. Number 4, they're learning you don't operate in the same frequency. You're not operating on the same frequency anymore, and that's becoming painfully clear to them. In the past, they may have thrived on pulling you into their whirlwind, poking at you until you snapped, baiting you into arguments, creating a mess just to see you scramble. That was their comfort zone. They knew how to win in chaos because they lived there. But now, you've removed yourself from that space entirely. You don't step into their storms. You don't play the games they're trying to drag you into. You've learned how to stay centered no matter how loud their noise gets. Your quiet is not a retreat. It's not you running away, hiding, or surrendering. It's control. It's you choosing not to spend your energy where it can't grow. And that choice disrupts their entire playbook. When they can't provoke a reaction, they lose their power. Without your emotional involvement, their tactics fall flat. There's nothing for them to feed off of, no chain reaction for them to ride. It's like they're throwing sparks into the ocean. You've become untouchable. This is unsettling for them because it means they can't read you anymore. People who thrive on emotional manipulation depend on predictability. They need to know that if they push a certain button, you'll respond in a certain way. But you've changed the game without warning. You don't react. You calculate. And that scares them more than anything because calculation means you're thinking ahead. It means you're not just surviving their attacks. You're outmaneuvering them entirely. Operating at a different frequency also means you're no longer reachable by their usual methods. The insults, the gossip, the sudden outbursts, they don't touch you the same way anymore. You don't get pulled into their world of instant reactions and impulsive decisions. You've shifted into a place where your moves are deliberate, intentional, and almost invisible until they're done. That kind of discipline is the difference between someone who's still playing defense and someone who's already won. And now they know you're not an easy target anymore. You're not even in the same arena. They can throw as many emotional punches as they want, but you've already stepped out of range. That's when it hits them. You're a strategist, not a reactor, and strategists always control the end game. Number 5. You've redefined the battlefield without warning. They were ready for a fight, but they were ready for it their way. They had the stage set, arguments they could win by twisting words, gossip they could spread to sway others, manipulative tactics they'd perfected over years. This was their home turf. They knew every corner of it, every trick that worked, every angle they could use to make themselves look strong and you look small. They thought if a battle ever came, it would be fought there, on the ground they controlled. But you didn't give them that satisfaction. You didn't show up to the stage they built for you. You didn't meet them where they had the advantage. You took the entire fight somewhere else, a place where they have no footing, no influence, no ability to rig the outcome. And you did it without warning. That's the part that really throws them off. If they had known you were going to change the rules, they might have tried to adapt. But you didn't give them time to adjust. One day they were gearing up to pull you into their world, and the next, you were already gone from it. They're still swinging, still making their usual moves, but now it's hitting empty air. They're shadowboxing against an opponent who's no longer even in the room. And here's what really hurts them. You didn't just walk away, you outgrew the entire game. It's not that you refused to fight because you were scared or unprepared. You refused to fight because you realized the battle itself was beneath you. You saw that winning in their space wouldn't be a victory. It would just be proof that they could still pull you down to their level. By redefining the battlefield, you force them into a position they're not used to. Powerless. They can't smear your name in a space you don't exist in. They can't manipulate your emotions when you don't give them access to them. They can't claim victory when you're not even playing the same game. And the more they realize this, the more frustrated they become, because deep down they know you've already won simply by refusing to fight where they wanted you to. Number 6. They're feeling the cold edge of irrelevance. When you stopped engaging, you did more than just create distance. You took away the one thing they depended on most, the confirmation that they still mattered to you. Every conversation, every reaction, every back and forth you used to have was a constant reminder to them that they were still a key part of your life. Even if the exchanges were tense, even if they were rooted in conflict, it still kept them at the center of your emotional universe. And for someone who thrives on that kind of attention, losing it is like losing oxygen. The shift happened quickly. One day they were sure they were a main character in your story, and the next they were reduced to background noise. That kind of fall is brutal because it forces them to see the truth. They weren't as important to your life as they believed. And the silence makes it worse because there's no dramatic goodbye, no emotional closure, no moment where they can at least feel like they got the last word. It's just nothing. Irrelevance has a way of creeping in slowly for most people, but for them, it hit like a brick wall. They've built their identity around being significant in your life, and without that role, they don't know where they stand. They may try to convince themselves they don't care, but their actions will betray them. Little attempts to bait you back, subtle digs, or even loud performances meant to recapture your attention. But no matter how hard they try, they can't ignore the truth. They've been replaced not by another person, but by your own peace. What stings the most is that you didn't even have to announce this shift. You didn't sit them down and declare they were no longer important. You simply stopped investing energy into them. That quiet removal of your attention is more cutting than any confrontation could be, because it tells them without words that you no longer see them as a factor in your life. For someone who once fed off your reactions, your indifference is the ultimate blow. It's not anger, it's not bitterness, it's nothing, and nothing for them is the coldest thing you could have possibly given. And now they have to live with the reality that they've gone from being the center of your focus to just another name in your past. Number 7. Your evolution is happening off their radar. They used to believe they had you figured out. They thought they could track your progress, predict your moves, and keep up with your growth. That belief gave them a sense of comfort, even superiority. But now, you've shifted in a way that has completely removed their line of sight. They can't see what you're doing, they can't measure where you're at, and they have no idea what's coming next. That kind of uncertainty is unsettling for anyone who once felt in control of the narrative. What's eating at them is not just the fact that you've gone quiet, it's that the quiet has been productive. You haven't been sitting still. You've been working on yourself in ways they can't witness, investing in things they don't know about, and leveling up without broadcasting your every move. To them, it feels like you've stepped into a hidden world where they have no access. And people fear what they can't monitor because it means they can't influence it, stop it, or prepare for it. They're starting to put the pieces together, though. Little hints slip through, subtle changes in your demeanor, glimpses of new confidence, traces of progress they can't fully explain. They notice it in the way you speak differently, carry yourself differently, or respond to situations with a calm they've never seen before. It tells them you've been evolving in ways that go far beyond surface-level changes. The dangerous truth for them is that this growth isn't something they can undo. They can't sabotage what they can't see. They can't block opportunities they don't know about, and they can't prepare for a version of you they've never encountered before. That's what makes this kind of evolution so powerful. You've become unpredictable in the best possible way. Every day, you move further ahead without their awareness. You widen the gap between where you are and where they thought you'd be. And the more that gap grows, the more powerless they feel. It's one thing to be out of the loop. It's another to realize the person you underestimated is building something beyond your reach. Your evolution off their radar isn't just progress, it's a quiet revolution. And when it finally becomes visible, it will be far too late for them to catch up. Number 8. You're no longer a predictable character in their script. They used to know exactly how to get to you. They had a mental playbook with every one of your reactions documented, what you'd say if they provoked you, how you'd respond if they gave you the silent treatment, the way you'd rush to defend yourself if they spread a lie. They didn't just know the lines, they wrote the script. And as long as you played your part, they felt in control. But something shifted. You stopped playing. You stopped giving them the reactions they'd rehearsed for. Your quiet disrupted the entire storyline they were relying on, and now they're standing there without a script, unsure what comes next. That uncertainty is eating away at them because it's showing them just how much they depended on you being predictable. Predictability is the lifeline for manipulators. If they know exactly how you'll react, they can plan their moves in advance. They can set traps they know you'll walk into. They can twist your words into shapes they've already prepared. But unpredictability, that's dangerous territory for them. It means they can't plan. It means they can't guarantee an outcome. And when they can't control the outcome, they feel exposed. Now, every time they try something, there's hesitation. They don't know if you'll ignore it, counter it, or dismantle it in a way they've never seen before. That hesitation weakens them. It makes them second-guess themselves, question their own tactics, and hold back when they would normally attack without thinking. And in that hesitation, you gain even more power. What they're starting to realize is that you're not just unpredictable, you're intentional. You're not reacting in the moment, you're choosing in the moment. And that difference changes everything. It means they can no longer read you like an open book. It means they can't trap you in cycles you've already escaped. It means the game they thought they were winning is now one they no longer even understand. Unpredictability isn't about being erratic. It's about being strategic enough that no one can see your next move until it's already in motion. And that's where you are now. You've taken yourself out of their script completely, and without you playing the role they wrote, their entire performance is falling apart. Number 9. You've turned their curiosity into obsession. When you were accessible, they could keep tabs on you without much effort. A quick conversation here, a glance at your expressions there, maybe a few indirect questions to people around you. Easy. They always had just enough information to feel like they knew what was going on in your life. But when you cut that access off, you created a gap. At first, it was just curiosity. They wondered what you were doing, how you were feeling, what you were planning. But curiosity doesn't like to be left unanswered, and soon it started to grow into something else: obsession. Now they're not just wondering, they're actively searching. They pay more attention to what you don't say than what you do. They scan for signs in small details, a change in how you dress, a subtle shift in your tone, even the company you keep. They look for hidden clues in things that aren't even connected to them, desperate to piece together a picture of your life without you telling them directly. The thing about cutting off access is that it forces people to fill in the blanks themselves. And the human mind has a way of creating stories far more dramatic than the truth. In their head, you're suddenly making big moves, meeting influential people, building something massive behind the scenes. Every unknown becomes a possible breakthrough. The less they know, the more they imagine, and the more they imagine, the more they need to know for sure. This is where it turns into a problem for them. Obsession isn't passive, it's active. They start asking about you in roundabout ways, monitoring you from a distance, maybe even watching for your online presence. They can't admit it openly, but you've become a puzzle they're determined to solve. And every day you withhold information, the puzzle feels bigger. What they can't see is that this obsession is a form of power you now hold over them. You're not chasing them, yet they're spending mental and emotional energy chasing you. You're not feeding their curiosity, yet it's growing stronger by the day. They wanted to be the one in control of your focus, but now, without even trying, you've become the center of theirs. And the most frustrating part for them, they don't even know when or if they'll get the answers they're looking for. Number 10. They're realizing they were never the source of your strength. For a long time, they told themselves a comforting story, that they were the reason you became who you are. They convinced themselves that without their guidance, their influence, or even their criticism, you wouldn't have found your path. Maybe they even spoke about you to others as if they had built you, taking quiet credit for your growth. It was a way of inflating their own importance, while subtly keeping you in a position that seemed dependent on them. But now that you've stepped back and gone quiet, the cracks in that story are showing. You're still moving forward, still leveling up, and still finding ways to win, without their presence anywhere in the equation. That's the part they didn't expect. If they truly believed they were your source of strength, then your success in their absence feels like a direct contradiction of their narrative. It's proof that they were never the foundation they thought they were. What's worse for them is that your growth now feels even more authentic. Without their visible involvement, every achievement you make stands as a testament to your own resilience and determination. They can't claim the credit anymore, and that loss of control over the story is eating away at them. They're being forced to face the reality that their role in your life was never as pivotal as they like to believe. Your quiet rise is even more unsettling because it highlights just how much of your progress happened despite them, not because of them. All the times they doubted you, all the ways they underestimated you, all the subtle or direct attempts to hold you back. Those are now part of the backstory you overcame, not the foundation you stood on. And now that truth is visible in the way you carry yourself, the moves you make, and the independence you've embraced. This is where their discomfort turns into something deeper, resentment. They don't just feel left out, they feel exposed. Your success without their help reveals the truth they never wanted to admit. You've always been self-made. Their presence may have been loud, but it was never the source of your power. At best, it was just background noise. And now that you've muted it, the strength you've always had is coming through clearer than ever. Number 11. Your energy shift has made you unreachable. Your absence from their world is no longer just physical, it's energetic, and that's far more unsettling for them. You're not simply avoiding calls, ignoring messages, or keeping your distance. You've shifted into a frequency that makes you unreachable in a way they can't mimic, fake, or bypass. It's like you've stepped into a room that's invisible to them, a realm they can sense but not enter, and that's driving them mad. They used to think they knew the way back into your life, pull a few emotional strings, remind you of shared memories, or lean on old dynamics to reel you back in. But those tactics no longer work because you've done more than set boundaries. You've changed your entire energetic architecture. You're not just harder to reach, you're operating on a completely different channel. This barrier isn't built from bitterness or ego, it's born from clarity. You've seen too much, grown too much, and healed too much to allow old energies to disrupt your peace. And while you may have left a door open in the past, now there's no entry point at all, because you finally understand that not everyone deserves access to you, even if they once had it. What they feel now is the quiet, heavy truth. Their clearance has been revoked, and it's not something they can talk or charm their way out of. This is spiritual security. Your spirit has installed a lock they don't have the code for. No amount of pretending they've changed will get them in, because it's not about appearances, it's about vibration. And theirs doesn't match anymore. The part they can't stand is that they can feel the difference. They sense the wall without you saying a word. They feel the no without you having to explain it. And it's not a wall of anger, it's a wall of ascension. You've elevated beyond the range of their influence, and they're left on the outside, watching you move further out of reach with each passing day. They may try to call it arrogance. They may tell themselves you're acting different. But deep down, they know the truth. You didn't just walk away, you transcended. And once someone rises to that level, there's no going back. They can still see you, but they can't touch you. They can still remember you, but they can't reach you. You've become unreachable, and the silence of that reality is louder than anything you could ever say. Number 12. They're confronting the fear that you've moved on permanently. When you pulled back, they might have thought it was temporary, just a phase, a mood, or a cooling off period before things returned to normal. But as the days stretch into weeks and the weeks into months, the silence has a different weight to it. It no longer feels like distance they can close with a casual conversation or an apology they don't really mean. It feels final, like a chapter you've already finished reading while they're still stuck on the same page. For people who once had unfiltered access to your time, your thoughts, and your emotional space, the possibility of losing that forever is terrifying. You were more than just a person in their life. You were a resource. You were someone they could call on for validation, attention, entertainment, or even emotional support when it suited them. Losing that means losing a supply they may never be able to replace, and that reality is sinking in fast. The quiet isn't just an absence of conversation, it's a loud statement that you've moved on in ways they can't undo. It's not that you hate them or that you're even thinking about them constantly. It's that they've fallen completely out of the orbit you now operate in. They're not at the center anymore, and they can't pull you back in because you're functioning on a level that no longer requires their input or approval. What unsettles them most is the growing sense that the old version of you they knew is gone for good. The one they could manipulate, guilt-trip, or emotionally sway doesn't exist anymore. And if that's true, then the relationship, at least in the form they once controlled, is officially over. That's the kind of loss that doesn't just hurt pride. It hits the ego because it forces them to accept they were never as essential to you as they believed. Now the silence isn't something they can wait out. It's not a temporary storm. They're starting to realize it's the climate. And if the door you've closed is truly locked, then in their mind, it's not just an ending. It's exile. That thought alone keeps them restless, because deep down, they know you're not the one losing here. They are. Number 13. You're letting the truth expose them without saying a word. You didn't rush to defend yourself. You didn't gather witnesses, mount a campaign, or waste energy trying to convince people of your innocence. You knew that anyone who was meant to see the truth eventually would, and anyone committed to misunderstanding you wasn't worth convincing in the first place. So you stepped back. You let the storm rage without trying to control it, because you understood something they didn't. Lies have expiration dates, and truth doesn't need you to push it across the finish line. It moves on its own, quietly gathering weight until it becomes impossible to ignore. And now, without your participation, their carefully crafted narrative is starting to unravel. In your absence, the people who once believed their version of events have started noticing cracks. Their stories don't line up anymore. Their behavior contradicts the image they tried to project. The energy they carry doesn't match the innocence they claimed. And because you're no longer there to be their convenient scapegoat, all the attention has shifted back to them, and they're not handling the spotlight well. What's most poetic about it is that you didn't just avoid playing their game, you changed the entire playing field. The truth is exposing them in ways your words never could because it's being revealed through the natural unfolding of events. People are connecting dots on their own, and those dots are painting a picture far uglier than anything you could have said out loud. You've become living proof of everything they tried to erase. The peace you carry now, the glow you've cultivated, and the life you've rebuilt without them are all silent testimonies that their version of you was a lie. And here's the sting. They can't smear you anymore without reminding everyone that you're still standing, thriving, and unbothered. They once thought destroying your name would erase your existence. Instead, it's their own image that's deteriorating while you rise without lifting a finger. You're the quiet evidence, the inconvenient reminder, the truth they can't bury. Number 14. Your new power is in what you choose not to give. You've realized that your power isn't in what you hand out, it's in what you withhold. Once upon a time, you gave freely. Your time, your explanations, your energy, your reactions. You thought engagement was proof of strength, that meeting them head-on would somehow force them to see your worth. But now you know the truth. Every time you answer to noise, you legitimize it. Every time you explain yourself to someone committed to misunderstanding you, you hand them control over your narrative. So you've learned the art of withholding, not out of bitterness, but out of precision. You know where your energy flows, life grows, and they're not entitled to the life you're building. They wanted you reactive because reactions give them something to feed on, something to twist, something to claim victory over. Your silence denies them the fuel. Your absence starves them of relevance. What unsettles them most is that your restraint isn't passive, it's deliberate. It's a decision born from self-respect, not fear. You could respond in ways that cut them to the bone, but you don't need to. The discipline to hold your tongue, to walk away without proving your point, to resist the bait, that's the kind of strength they never accounted for. And now they're seeing it. Your refusal to engage isn't weakness, it's dominance. You're no longer playing defense in a game they invented. You've left the field entirely, and they can't score on an empty court. Every unanswered message, every ignored provocation, every moment you choose peace over petty warfare is a reminder that you hold the power because you decide where the game even happens. What you choose not to give is now your greatest weapon, and that terrifies them because deep down they know they can't take anything from someone who no longer offers it. You've stepped into a new realm, one where your silence speaks volumes without uttering a single word. What once felt like withdrawal was, in truth, a strategic reclaiming of your power. Each quiet moment has dismantled their illusions, shattered their control, and revealed the strength they never expected you to have. This isn't about being unreachable or indifferent. It's about mastering yourself in a world that thrived on your reactions. They're forced now to confront the undeniable truth. You are no longer available for their manipulation, their games, or their distractions. Your energy has shifted beyond their grasp, your presence redefined on your own terms. Every unanswered call, every ignored provocation, every withheld response is a testament to a power that can't be taken, because it wasn't given freely in the first place. You've rewritten the rules without announcing it. You've outgrown battles they wanted to fight on their turf, choosing instead to win in ways they can't see or understand. Their frustration, confusion, and desperation aren't signs of your weakness. They're the echoes of a force they underestimated. This quiet revolution within you is more than a withdrawal. It's an ascension, an evolution so profound that it leaves them scrambling to catch up while you soar higher, untethered, and unstoppable. Remember this: strength isn't always loud. Sometimes it's the calm, steady refusal to engage that shakes the ground beneath those who once tried to break you. You've already won, without a fight. Now, watch as the silence you chose becomes the roar they can never silence. If this message spoke to you and you're ready to own your power like never before, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and join the movement. Like the video if you feel the strength in silence. Comment below with your story or thoughts. I want to hear from you. And most importantly, share this with someone who needs to know they're not alone in their quiet rise. Together we're building a community of unstoppable warriors who don't need to shout to be heard. Stay strong, stay silent, and keep winning. God bless you.